They told us America was the land of milk and honey. They didn't say some of us would end up under a freeway clutching a trash bag for warmth while the world kept moving like we never existed. Imagine this. You work 2 jobs, send money home every month, follow the rules, and still end up sleeping in your car. Not because you were lazy, but because the system is broken. Here's what they're not talking about. Homelessness is exploding in US cities. And yes, Filipinos are getting hit hard. Real people, real pain. And the numbers? They'll chill you, but the city topping the list will break you. This isn't just a stat video, it's a wake-up call. So if you're watching this and thinking, that could have been me, you're already part of the story. Smash that like so this reaches someone who needs to hear it. Hit subscribe because what we're about to show you, no one else is saying out loud. And drop a comment if you're done being invisible. We're not just exposing the truth, we're building something bigger. Stay with us. Can I ask you something real? Have you ever had a moment where you looked around and thought, how the hell did I end up here? Not because you were lazy, not because you made bad choices, but because life just flipped on you. That's where Clarita is right now. She's 47, used to work at a beachfront hotel in Miami, woke up at 4 a.m., cooked eggs like a machine, smiled at every tourist who asked for just a little more bacon. Half her paycheck went straight to her kids in the Philippines. Every single month, no excuses. Then the pandemic hit. Boom, job gone, hotel shut down, rent late, no safety net. Now, she sleeps in her car parked behind an abandoned strip mall in Little Havana. Her bedroom, the driver's seat. Her pillow, a rolled up hoodie. And still, she sends what she can back home. Have you ever known someone like that? Maybe it was your mom, your kuya, maybe it was you. Clarita doesn't call herself homeless. She says it's just temporary. But let's be honest, how long is temporary when the system's not built to catch you? Miami's got over 3,800 homeless people. That number's rising. And sure, that's nothing compared to LA or New York, but for a Filipino community this small, just 21,500 strong, every single one matters. When someone like Clarita slips through the cracks, it echoes loud. And here's the part that gets me. She still believes things will turn around. That's the Filipino in her. Hopeful, resilient, silent, but she shouldn't have to suffer in silence. So let's talk. Drop a comment if you know someone like Clarita or if you are her. This is your space now. We see you. And hit that like button, not just for the algorithm, but because her story deserves to be heard loud and clear. But hold on, don't click away, because next up is Washington, D.C. and the story of Arvin. He's a security guard working 3 jobs just to stay afloat in the capital of power and promises. And what happened to him will shake you. Stick around, this is just the beginning. You know Washington, D.C. power suits marble monuments, the heartbeat of American politics. But beyond the grandeur of Capitol Hill lies a story that the city doesn't advertise. Imagine this. Arvin, a Filipino immigrant, once cleaned the gleaming floors of a government building. He arrived in the US through marriage, but after a bitter divorce, he lost his legal status. Suddenly he was invisible. No job, no aid, no identity. Where did he go? Franklin Park? By day, he sought refuge in the library. By night, he slept under the awning of the very building he once maintained. One freezing night, wrapped in newspapers, he whispered, "Back home, even the poor have a roof. Here, I have nothing. Not even a name." Let that sink in. DC has one of the highest homelessness rates in the US, 94 per 10,000 people. In 2024, the city recorded a 14% increase in homelessness from the previous year, with families experiencing a 39% rise. But undocumented individuals like Arvin, they're not just off the record, they're off the radar. Now, let's talk about you. Have you ever felt like the system was built to forget you? If so, drop a broken heart in the comments, share your story or someone else's. Let's make sure they're not invisible anymore. But we're not done yet. Up next, Phoenix, where the sun blazes and hope melts on the sidewalk. Stick around. The story of Maria will challenge everything you think you know about the American dream. Phoenix, Arizona, a city known for its clear blue skies and blistering sun, but beneath the surface of this desert metropolis lies a harsh reality that many overlook. Imagine Jason, a 29-year-old from Cebu, arriving in Phoenix with dreams as vast as the Arizona sky. With a work visa in hand, he secured a job and began building a new life. But fate had other plans. A motorbike accident left him with a broken arm, no insurance, and no income. Rent piled up, and within 2 months, Jason found himself evicted. Now he resides in an old sedan loaned by a friend, unaware of Jason's living situation. Each night, he parks near a soccer field, and every morning, he freshens up in a public restroom before searching for gigs using coffee shop Wi-Fi. Jason reflects, "I'm not a bum. I had a job, I had a plan, I just had an accident, and no one to catch me." Phoenix's homeless population has been on the rise. In 2024, over 9,400 individuals experienced homelessness in the Phoenix metro area. The city's extreme heat exacerbates the crisis. In 2024, Phoenix endured a record-breaking 113 consecutive days with temperatures exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 degrees Celsius. This relentless heat contributed to over 600 heat deaths in Maricopa County, with nearly half of the victims being unhoused individuals. The city's infrastructure struggles to keep up. Cooling centers essential for respite from the heat often close by 5 p.m., leaving many without shelter during the hottest parts of the day. Now, let's turn the spotlight on you. Have you or someone you know faced unexpected hardships that led to housing instability? Share your story in the comments below. Let's bring these narratives to light and foster a community of support. And if Jason's story resonates with you, hit that like button. Your engagement helps amplify these voices and brings attention to the pressing issues at hand. But don't go anywhere. Next up is segment 7, Dallas, where we'll uncover the story of Manuel, a tale that will leave a lasting impact on your heart. It's always the plan, right? California bleeds your wallet dry, so you pack up and head to Texas. Wide roads, big skies, affordable rent. Dallas promises space to breathe, a slower pace, and a fighting chance. But promises, they're paper thin in the heat of real life. Dallas is home to over 80,000 Filipinos. Nurses, techies, restaurant staff, caregivers. It's one of the fastest growing metro areas in America. But even in a city that feels calm, the struggle hides in plain sight. Let's walk a mile in the worn shoes of Manuel. He wasn't some fresh off the boat rookie. He spent 15 years working as a nurse in Dallas. He knew every hallway of that medical center by heart. He held dying hands and whispered hope into long nights. Then came COVID. He got sick, couldn't clock in. Then came the layoffs, the mounting bills, and a creeping anxiety that doesn't knock, it just slips in and stays. One month, he's paying rent. The next, he's sleeping on newspapers behind the hospital he once called home. He refused shelters, said he couldn't bear the noise, the eyes, the reminders, so he built a cardboard fort outside the very building he used to walk into with pride. Dallas ranks 20th in homelessness nationwide, and while officials claim a drop in overall numbers, mental health cases and elder homelessness are on the rise. And here's the gut punch. Manuel still sends old selfies to his family in the Philippines, posing in front of borrowed cars, borrowed apartments, borrowed smiles. They think he's thriving. How many Manuels are out there smiling online, suffering offline? Drop a stay strong Manuel if this story hit close to home. You never know who's battling silent storms around you. Because behind every success story is a shadow. And in Dallas, that shadow's growing. Coming up next, Houston, a city with oil in its veins and hustle in its bones, but when the rent shoots higher than a Texas flame, even the toughest can get burned. You're not ready for what happened to Gloria, and once you hear it, you'll never forget it. Stay close. Houston, the city of big dreams, booming industries, and sprawling neighborhoods. It's where many come seeking a fresh start, lured by the promise of affordable living and endless opportunities. But beneath the surface of this bustling metropolis lies a harsh reality that often goes unnoticed. Consider Tita Gloria, a retired nurse who dedicated over 20 years of her life to caring for others in Houston. After her husband's passing, she relied solely on a modest pension, barely enough to cover her medications and rent. Then came an unexpected hospital stay. 2 weeks later, she returned home only to find her lease terminated. With no immediate family nearby and landlords hesitant to rent to an elderly woman on a fixed income, Gloria found herself living in her minivan. Imagine that, a woman who once saved lives now sleeps in the back of a vehicle older than some of her former patients. Elder homelessness is a growing concern in Houston. More than 765,000 older Texans are struggling to keep a roof over their heads, a problem expected to persist as baby boomers age. Shelters often prioritize families with children, veterans, and teens. Quiet, respectful individuals like Gloria frequently get overlooked, slipping through the cracks of a system stretched thin. Think about it. When you're invisible, who fights for you? If you're watching this and have a grandma, an auntie, or a tita who raised you, reach out to them, let them know they matter, share their stories. Let's ensure that voices like Gloria's don't fade into silence. And stay tuned, next we're heading to Chicago, a city where the cold isn't just in the air, but in the challenges faced by its residents. The story of Lolo Ben will leave you both heartbroken and inspired. Chicago isn't just cold, it's brutal when you've got no place to stay, no warmth to turn to. Every winter, the winds howl like a warning. Snow buries everything in sight, but for some, it's not the snow that's the biggest danger, it's the invisible cold of being forgotten. In 2024, Chicago had over 68,000 homeless individuals. And here's the heartbreaking truth. 33% of them are unsheltered. That means they're sleeping on benches, underpasses, or even worse, train station floors. And that's where we find Lolo Ben, an elderly Filipino man who had once worked in a laundry shop for years until his back pain made it impossible to continue. He spent his days doing what he could, just getting by. But life threw him a curveball he never saw coming. One fateful day, after a hospital stay, he returned home only to find his lease was terminated, gone, no family nearby, no one willing to take him in. And so, Lolo Ben, a man who once cared for others, found himself curled up on a bench at a train station. His name, forgotten. His ID, lost. His memories, fading. But the one thing he clung to in the silence, call me Lolo Ben. At least, that's something you can remember me by. That single line broke the hearts of every volunteer who heard it. Here's the hard truth. Chicago is rich in culture, but when it comes to the elderly, it's poor in mercy. Shelters often prioritize families with children, veterans, and teenagers, while people like Lolo, Ben, quiet, humble, and non-confrontational, get overlooked. Now let that sink in. When you're invisible, when you're treated like you don't matter, who stands up for you? If you've got a Lolo, a grandpa, or anyone who's ever cared for you, reach out to them, let them know they're seen, they're loved, and they still matter. Drop a not on our watch, Lolo Ben, in the comments if this hit you deep. And don't go anywhere. Coming up next, Seattle, a city where the rain pours, and it's not just the weather that's drowning dreams. Stay tuned for the next story of hope, heartbreak, and survival. San Diego, the city of sun, sand, and sea. Waves crashing, yoga at sunrise, boats gently rocking in the marina. Sounds like paradise, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to sip an iced latte while manifesting abundance with the Pacific breeze in your hair? But a couple of blocks away, Filipinos here are manifesting something a little different: survival. Over 201,000 Filipinos live in San Diego. They're on naval bases and hospitals, working as caregivers, cashiers, cleaners. The city sparkles on the surface, but under that sunshine, there's a whole lot of struggle brewing in the shadows. Take Rowena, for example. She moved to San Diego through marriage, a hopeful dreamer with a daughter in tow. She landed a job as an accountant at a clinic in Chula Vista. Numbers were her thing. Stability was her dream. But we all know how dreams, especially the ones built on shaky foundations, don't always last. The divorce came, her work permit was on the edge, but she made it work. That is, until the clinic downsized and her job was gone. Fast forward a few months, she's juggling gigs, working weekend shifts, using food stamps to make ends meet. The cost of living, a nightmare. A one-bedroom apartment costs $2,500, 0 cents a month. Wait, hold up, $2,500, 0 cents for a one bedroom? In a city like this, imagine the pressure, the constant worry. It's like being trapped in a game where you can never get to the next level. Can you feel that weight? I mean, seriously, could you keep your head above water in a place like this? Eventually, Rowena had no choice but to send her daughter to stay with a friend in LA. And there she was, left alone, living in her car. Let that sink in. A mother living in her car in a city where people fork out $15, 0 cents for avocado toast like it's nothing. Every morning, Rowena washes her face with bottled water, applies lipstick in public restrooms, and walks into grocery stores like nothing's wrong. Because as long as no one sees her car, no one knows the truth. In her words, if they knew I was homeless, they'd treat me different, but I still have my dignity. San Diego has over 10,600 homeless people, and half of them are unsheltered, like Rowena. But for many Filipinos here, it's more than homelessness. It's hidden suffering wrapped in silence and tied up in shame. If this story hit you right in the feels, drop a "Stay Strong, Rowena" in the comments. Let's build a wall of support around her spirit, even if the system won't. But wait, before we jump to New York City, let's pause for a second. This right here, this is the reality. This is what we don't often talk about. San Diego may shine bright on the surface, but for too many people, it's a facade. And it's time we take off those rose-colored glasses. Now, share this video with someone who thinks the Filipino American dream is all sunshine and rainbows, because next we're heading to the city where dreams are sold by the billboard, but survival, it rides the subway. New York City, brace yourself because this one hits hard and fast. Welcome to New York City, home to 236,000 Filipinos. The Empire State Building, Times Square, Broadway, they call it the city that never sleeps. But here's the thing, for thousands of Filipinos, it's not just a slogan, it's a survival strategy. Because sleeping in New York City, it could mean freezing, it could mean getting robbed, it could mean missing your shot at staying alive another day. Let me paint a picture for you. Meet Ryan. He's 35, a quiet, dependable lab technician living in Queens. Filipino through and through, punctual, polite, hardworking, the type of guy who never complains. That is, until the layoffs came. Not because he messed up, not because he was lazy, the hospital just had to downsize. One day, Ryan's job is gone. No severance, no safety net, and in a city like New York, you don't get a warning, it just swallows you whole. So Ryan did what he had to do. He couch surfed, slept on friends' floors, folded up futons, dining room rugs, until one day the calls stopped, the doors stopped opening, and eventually Ryan had no one left. From our stats, we've got more viewers outpacing subscribers. Kindly join our community. Thank you. All right, back to the story. Now let that sink in, because here's where it gets real. Every night, Ryan doesn't just sleep anywhere. He boards a subway train, not to get somewhere, but to sleep. That's right, he sleeps on a metal bench inside a moving train with his backpack clutched close like a bulletproof vest. And in the morning, he walks out like nothing's wrong, washes up in a public restroom, puts on a clean shirt, and applies for jobs like his world isn't crumbling. The cold reality: New York has over 140,000 homeless people. 97% are placed in shelters, but those shelters, sardine-packed, no privacy, and often booted out after 30 days. For Filipinos like Ryan, with no family or fallback, there's only one option: blend in, pretend, and survive. And get this, the average rent for a one-bedroom in NYC, $3,000, 0 cents per month. That's right, $3, 0 cents for 4 walls and a lock, if you can even find a place. Next time someone says, just get a job, think of Ryan. If Ryan's story lit a fire in your gut, type "not invisible" in the comments. Let's make sure no Filipino in New York is ever left invisible again. And hey, before we move on to San Francisco, smash that like button, share this video, and don't let Ryan's story be forgotten in the shadows of a subway tunnel. Next up, we're heading to San Francisco, where billion-dollar startups rise high while Filipinos sleep in tents beside trash bins. You won't want to miss this. Welcome to Silicon Valley, the tech capital of the world, home to Google, Meta, billion-dollar IPOs, and tent cities just a few streets away. Over 310,000 Filipinos live in the Bay Area. Many of them work in healthcare, caregiving, and service jobs. They are the backbone of this city. But here's the gut-wrenching part. While the rich cruise around in Teslas, sipping turmeric lattes, Filipinos are sleeping in tents, under tarps, beside dumpsters, invisible in the wealthiest region in America. You want to talk about injustice? Let's talk about Jeffrey. Meet Jeffrey, 42. He was a delivery driver. Every day he grinded miles and miles, packages and promises, just to stay afloat. Then came the gas price spike. Orders dropped, tips dried up, and suddenly his rent was 3 months overdue. His landlord didn't blink, evicted. At first, he slept in his car. Then, that got towed for illegal parking. He lost everything: clothes, documents, even his passport. Now, he lives in Box City, a makeshift tent community of displaced Filipinos just outside Daly City. Yes, Daly City, the place known for Filipino stores, turo joints, and Sunday karaoke. Feels like home, right? But hidden behind those walls are tents, cold floors, people like Jeffrey who gave everything and still ended up with less than nothing. One rainy night, his tent flooded. He curled up into a black trash bag just to stay dry. When a social worker came by at sunrise offering canned food, Jeffrey looked her dead in the eye and said, "We don't need food, we need to be remembered." Let this sink in. San Francisco has over 8,000 homeless people, and 70% of them are unsheltered. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment, $3,500 a month. It's not just unaffordable, that's a trap for immigrants who can't afford to miss one paycheck, can't afford to fall sick, can't afford to make one mistake. This is the cost of chasing a dream in a city built on tech and tears. And if you think this was intense, wait until you see what's next. The next city on our list, number 1, is where the Filipino American dream was born and where it's now being burned to the ground. All right, let's dive in. Los Angeles, Hollywood, red carpets, Filipino town, the city of stars, where dreams are made or crushed. But here's the reality no one wants to talk about. Under those same palm trees, Filipino families are sleeping in cars, in tents, and in alleys. And guess what? No one's looking down. There are 506,000 Filipinos living in LA, the largest Filipino population in the US. But alongside that, LA also has 71 homeless people, and 70% of them don't even have shelter. So let me tell you about Antonio, a 34-year-old dad who was just trying to make it work. He was a mechanic at a downtown garage. He could fix anything from classic Mustangs to your grandma's old minivan. But when the pandemic hit, the garage shut down, gone. His savings, gone. And his family, they weren't nearby. So Antonio did what any father would do when there's no other choice. He found a place to put up a tent on Temple Street, right in the middle of Filipino town. This was supposed to be his shelter, his safe place, where the Filipino community once thrived with karaoke, halo-halo, and simbang gabi. But now, it's a place where Antonio and his kids sleep under tarps, just trying to get by. But it doesn't end there. One night, his tent was set on fire. Arson, just another homeless incident, they said. But for Antonio, that was everything. His shelter gone in flames. And the only thing he had left was a photo of his mom, the one he had been meaning to send money to before she passed away in Manila. That was the last piece of home he had left, and it burned with everything else. Can you imagine that? A man thousands of miles away from home, fighting to provide for his kids, and the only connection he had to his past was wiped away. That's the true cost of chasing the American dream. LA is loud, yeah, but it's selectively silent about the Filipino struggle. They celebrate our festivals, they throw us a parade, but once the music stops, we're forgotten. So here's what I want you to do. Comment below, Filipinos deserve more. And I'm not just saying that for the views. We are not shadows. We are not disposable. Smash that like button if this story hit home. Subscribe for more. And share this video with someone who still thinks the American dream is still alive and well. Trust me, we're just getting started. In our next video, we're diving deep into Elon Musk's secret investment in the Philippines. Trust me, you won't want to miss this.